It is easy to see how God is active in living creatures, but it is perhaps a little more difficult to see what God is doing in the case of inanimate objects like tables or books. When I look at a table and investigate its nature, an obvious question arises. Is God making the table be, or can the table be without involvement from God? The table existing without involvement from God would have to mean there is some part of the cosmos in which God is not present. But this cannot be, as God by his very nature is omnipresent. Therefore, there must be a sense in which the table is in God, or put another way, God's being must permeate the table. It is natural then to assume that God is holding the table in existence. The table appears solid and stable, and it is perfectly possible for God to create these qualities in the table. God is, after all, omnipotent, so holding a bunch of atoms in place for a few hundred years doesn't pose the slightest problem. Another aspect of God is that he is wholly in the parts as well as the whole. This means that each individual part of the table contains the fullness of God. It should not be hard to imagine then that God, in his infinite power, can create subtle change in objects over time. We are talking, for instance, of objects like the table fading in colour, or becoming infested by woodworm or drying out. If the smallest particle is just as present to God as the whole table, then God can effect change on any level. One might naturally ask, what would become of the table if God's involvement were taken away? Could it exist without God? We have already established that God is everywhere, so we would have to conclude that there can be no table without God. Taking all of this into account, should it not be possible for God to make major, unexpected changes in the order of things? For instance, if God wanted my table to vanish before my eyes, is this not possible? Remember, we are saying that God is holding every particle of the table in existence. I would have to conclude that yes, it is just as possible for a table to vanish as it is for a man's pain to vanish, as I described witnessing in the earlier video entitled How Do I Know God Exists? God could remove the table from existence in a flash if he desired. So why then do we not see more instances of this? Well, it is perfectly possible that God likes order. Perhaps regularity is one of the things that gives God pleasure. This is understandable if we remember that God has all of eternity at his disposal. God might like to make some things appear and disappear quickly, like a flash of lightning, and other things to remain in existence for hundreds of years, like a table. Evolution, in objects as well as animals, may well please God, as the unfolding of his will and his plans over time may give our Creator a sense of anticipation and things to look forward to. How do you believe God relates to inanimate objects? Feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts. In the next video we will look at different types of determinism, including scientific determinism and theological determinism, and we will explore how these ideas relate to the nature of God. Thank you for watching. This video accompanies my new book titled God's Grand Game, which is available now from all major retailers. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of future videos.